Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Tree Frog Talk. This week we're going to be looking at something wonderfully exciting, which is terms and conditions. I know we've been doing quite a few techie ones lately, so I thought I'd sort of take it down a little bit and talk about something that's really important that we've been helping some customers with this week. We've all been there, haven't we? We've bought ourselves a new toy, gadget, car, even rented a house. Been really excited about getting our new thing in our lives. We've got it, and then it's only later on, usually when we're trying to move away from it, that we look at the terms and conditions and realise it's not maybe quite as good a deal as we first thought. And buying a website or having someone build you a website is no different at all. You'll be glad to know I'm not going to go through all the terms and conditions of every website company ever, because that'll just take for ages. What we're going to do is we're going to look at the three most common things we come across when customers are trying to come to us as customers but are held back by their existing provider. And that's license agreements, domain name registrations, and custom content management systems. Let's start off with the most common one, which is license agreements. Now, a license agreement is just the same as if you've ever hired a wedding photographer. So just as with them, you'll have a website built, but you don't own the code and you don't own the design, basically you only own the right to use it for either a set amount of time or an indefinite amount of time. There are quite a few issues with this. First of all, you'll usually find that they won't allow anybody else to work on the website on your behalf. Now obviously if you're having an SEO company working for you, or if you fall out of love with your web company, you can't have anybody else work on the site. And it also means that then they pretty much have a right to charge you whatever they want. And related to that one is the fact that if that company goes out of business, you're pretty much stuffed, because you don't own the website and it remains an asset of that company. So if they go into receivership, you may well find that your website goes down and there's nothing that you can do about it despite spending thousands of pounds on it, or that the company has sold as a going concern to somebody else and you have absolutely no control who that is. So you may be working with a completely reputable company, and then that company is sold on to another company who are not a good fit for your business, and again you don't have any control over that. The last point, especially for license agreements, but again no matter how you have your website done, is make sure there's no exit fees. We've come across one customer recently trying to leave their company and they wanted nearly £700 in exit fees just to allow them to use another company. So really watch out for it. Okay, so let's move on to domain names. Now, domain names can be a real minefield. It should be really simple, it's a really easy process, but you'll be amazed at how many people get caught out with this one. The first point is to make sure that you own the domain. So when you ask the company to register it for it, you can use the whois lookup to make sure that when they've registered it in your name. Now they might say, oh well actually it's to stop people fraudulently trying to swap it over, and they can contact us rather than contact you, and that's fine, and there is sense in that, but make sure it's registered in your name and it's your property, and that your developer is down as a technical contact. And lastly, with domains and more about hosting, is make sure it's clear what the migration fees are. So what that means, you build your website, lovely, you're having your website then moved over from one supplier to another. Now some companies will charge this, they'll call it a migration fee. Make sure it is a set fee. If they do charge one, a lot of companies don't, but if they do, make sure it is a set fee and not an hourly fee. Again, because this can really rack up if they're charging by the hour. It should just be a case of a phone call or an email and a few digits in a box, but you'll be surprised at how many companies can play silly beggars and really rack up an hourly rate if they are allowed to. Just as I think about it, guys, one more tip with hosting is make sure they have a backup policy. Now obviously a web server is just like any other kind of computer file. It can crash, it can break, and you can lose data. Make sure that your hosts are producing an automatic backup, or if they're not, make sure you're aware of that so you can put your own backup in place. I was speaking to a business a while back, and he lost his entire business in one foul swoop. Basically, he built his database up through his website, their server crashed, and he lost a lot. And the first thing they said to him on the phone is, actually, if you check our terms and conditions, it says you can't touch us. And that was the extent of their customer service. So beware. Okay, one last one is custom CMSs, or content management systems. Now, CMSs are wonderful things, allow you to change the content yourself and really reduce your developer costs, especially if you're adding regular content like you should do. Now, when you're buying a website, some people will say, oh, actually, we don't use any normal content management systems. We've got our own bespoke content management system. Now, obviously what this means is they built it themselves. Things to be aware of here. Just like a license agreement, what you can find is they'll build you the website and they'll say, yes, you own all the code and you own all the content, but if they own the content management system and you can't move that elsewhere, that code is completely useless. You pretty much have to start from scratch. Or the only things would be of use are the images and text off the page, and you can download that off your browser anyway. Next week we're going to be looking at collaborations. So I'm going to tell you how you can collaborate on YouTube, how you can collaborate with other websites, and really just the compounding effect that working with other businesses can have. Now, I'm actually off to Taunton to be on the 4N TV channel, and so I'm going to be taking the camera down there. I'm going to be talking to some other businesses about collaborations. Okay, see you next week.